The studio lights shone bright over the Kelly Clarkson show, wrapping the stage in a warm glow. The audience hummed with energy, waiting for a moment they didn't yet know would spiral into something unforgettable. Kelly, all charm and ease, leaned forward with that trademark smile that had made her a household name. Across from her sat Tim McGraw, the country legend himself, calm and collected in a sharp black blazer and his signature cowboy hat. His new album had just dropped, and the interview was meant to celebrate it, to talk about music, life, and the meaning behind the songs. But something unseen stirred beneath the surface, a quiet tension that only grew as the cameras rolled. "Tim, it's so great to have you here," Kelly began, her voice bright with enthusiasm. "This new album, it's honest, it's real, people are talking about it. What inspired it?" The crowd clapped, and Tim smiled faintly, tipping his hat before answering. He spoke of sleepless nights, long drives, and the stories that poured from him after years on the road. But his tone was clipped, cautious, like he was walking a line no one else could see. The audience didn't pick up on it at first. They were too taken by Kelly's warmth and effortless rhythm. She asked about working with new artists, how he felt about the changing sound of country music. Tim's expression hardened slightly. "I'm not here to chase trends," he said evenly. "I make music for people who feel it, not for those scrolling their phones waiting for the next viral hit." The crowd laughed, thinking he was joking, but Kelly's smile wavered for just a second. She sensed something off and tried to shift the tone. "Sure, but you've got to admit some of these new artists are shaking things up. That duet you did, it's blowing up online." Tim's jaw tightened. "Fans eat up a lot of things," he said, his voice carrying a sharp edge that quieted the room. The laughter faded into uneasy silence. Kelly quickly tried to redirect. "Let's talk about your tour." "Look, Kelly," he cut in, "I'm not here to talk about what's trending. I'm here to talk about the music. Can we do that?" The studio fell quiet. Kelly didn't flinch, though her eyes softened. "All right," she said calmly. "Let's talk about the music. Tell me about the heart of this album." Tim's shoulders tensed. He hesitated, then spoke in a low, steady tone. "It's about what matters. Family, struggle, the things that keep you up at night. Not the noise out there." He gestured vaguely toward the audience or maybe the world beyond the set. Some people nodded, but the applause that followed felt hesitant. Kelly leaned in gently. "Your songs have always had soul. Is there one track that means the most to you?" "They all do," he said, his voice flat. "But I don't think people get it anymore. Everyone's chasing clicks, chasing drama. They don't listen. They just want a story to sell." His words hit hard, and the tension in the room deepened. Kelly met his eyes. "Well, we're listening now," she said evenly. "Tell us about one of those songs." "Let's hear what's behind it." Tim gave a short, humorless laugh. "You want me to spill my guts for the cameras? For a headline? That's not how this works, Kelly." The audience stirred, whispers breaking the silence. Kelly's expression didn't falter. "I'm not asking for headlines," she replied softly. "I'm asking for you. Your fans want to understand what drives you." He shook his head. "You think it's about the fans? Half of them don't buy records. They just want a moment to share, something that makes them feel like they know me." The air grew heavier. Off stage, Kelly's producer motioned for a commercial, but she gave a small shake of her head. "I get it," she said gently. "The industry's changed and it's tough. But you're still here, still making music that matters. Why not let us in on that?" Tim's eyes darkened, his voice cutting through the air. "Because some things aren't for sale, Kelly. Not everything's a performance." The words landed like a blow. The audience went still. For a long moment, Kelly said nothing, her face calm but her eyes sharp with thought. Then she leaned forward slightly. "You've got something important to say," she said quietly. "So tell us, what do you want people to take away from this album?" It was a lifeline, an invitation to ease the tension. But Tim didn't take it. He leaned back, his voice low but filled with weight. "I want people to stop turning everything into a circus. Music used to mean something. Now it's just content. I'm tired of it, Kelly. I'm tired of pretending." No one moved. The silence was complete. Kelly nodded slowly. "I understand. The business can feel like a machine sometimes, but what you do still matters. You're fighting for something real." Her voice was calm, but her words carried emotion. Tim let out a dry laugh. You think this is fighting? Sitting under lights, smiling for cameras? This is the game, Kelly, and you're great at it. The crowd gasped softly. Kelly froze, caught off guard. She took a breath. That's not fair, she said, her tone steady. I love music. Just like you. I'm not your enemy. For a moment, it seemed he might respond. But then he stood, the scrape of his chair echoing through the silent room. Maybe not, he said quietly. But I'm done with this. He turned and walked off, leaving Kelly alone under the lights. The audience sat in stunned silence. Kelly stayed still, her face calm but her hands clasped tightly. The producer signaled frantically, and finally Kelly looked up. Well, folks, she said with a faint smile, that was unexpected. Nervous laughter rippled through the crowd. This show's about real moments, she added softly. And sometimes they get messy. That's okay. When the cameras cut, Kelly sat back, exhaling deeply. Her assistant hurried over, but she waved her off, her gaze fixed on the empty seat. Backstage, Tim stood in the hallway, his manager whispering fast. We can fix this, Tim. Say you weren't feeling well. We'll smooth it out. But Tim shook his head. Let it be what it is, he said quietly, and walked away. When the break ended, Kelly returned to the stage alone. We had a bit of a curveball, she said, smiling faintly. But that's what real conversations are. Honest, even when it's hard. The audience relaxed, clapping gently. Kelly spoke about music, about staying true to yourself, even when the spotlight burns bright. Her sincerity drew the crowd back in. Meanwhile, backstage chaos brewed. Clips of the confrontation were already spreading online. Fans took sides, some calling Tim brave, others saying Kelly handled it with grace. The truth lay somewhere in between. Later, in her dressing room, Kelly sat quietly, scrolling through reactions before setting the phone aside. She wasn't angry, just tired. She understood where Tim's frustration came from, even if it had exploded the wrong way. Across town, Tim sat in a small diner, his hat low, a cup of black coffee steaming in front of him. For the first time all day, he felt calm. He thought about the songs he'd meant to share, about the moment that slipped away. He wasn't sure if he regretted it, but he knew he'd spoken from something real. As Kelly drove home that night, one of Tim's songs played on the radio. She listened quietly, her expression softening. Maybe, she thought, he had a point. Maybe they both did. Miles away, Tim's phone buzzed with a message from an old friend. You said what a lot of us feel. Just hope it was worth it. He didn't reply, just stared into the dark. Was it worth it? He didn't know. But for once, he'd said something true, and maybe that was enough.